Welcome back to another episode of the SuperCar Killer M3 presented by Turn 14 Distribution. Today we put the finishing touches on this car before the final showdown. Exciting times ahead. This car is 99% there to being completed. And first off, I want to talk about the clutch issue that I had in the previous video. I talked to a bunch of mechanics. Some of you guys also pointed out that it is most likely air in the line. And what Dave and I have done is bled the system again. Those master cylinders that are on the clutch pedal have a tendency to hold air, so I'm hoping we got everything out. Otherwise, I'm still kind of at a loss how the gearbox works when it's cold, but when it heats up, it doesn't want to engage properly. So that's kind of the issue I'm having right now. We haven't driven this car yet after doing the bleed, because the other thing that I noticed on the drive back from the dyno was skyrocketing intake air temperatures. I felt like I lost 100 horsepower. The car just felt so much slower, and that's because we've got our air intake right in this area of the vicinity of the downpipe, the header, all that stuff. So there is a ton of warm air coming into it. So instead of me trying to build a very professional air box, I just don't have the time, because I know Dave's got that supercar ready to go. So I want to try to get something in here that's somewhat good looking, but more so functional. So what I've already done is I've gotten a head start on this, and I've built a duct that runs from the fog light all the way up into this area here. And now let me show you what I've done to kind of like block off the hot air. To build this air box, I started off with a simple piece of cardboard and built a template right here, and the intake would pass through. And then what I did is go out and picked up some ABS plastic, and then ended up cutting this out. So now what we've got is a block as such, where it fits in like this. And now we've got the intake here. Now there's still some shielding that's gonna come on the back side of this, but this is now blocked. And then again, I wanted to just close this off. So another template out of cardboard was made, and I have this right now. So this is going to go on as such, like this, and close this entire area off. This isn't going to be a perfectly sealed box, I know that, but what I'm trying to do is reduce as much of that hot air coming in. I know what some of you are thinking, plastic, that could potentially melt in that area. So I have thought of that, and what I'm gonna use is this DI floor and tunnel shield. And this is just like a nice metal reflective barrier, and it's got tape on the backside and a little bit of foam or thermal barrier in between. So that's gonna take a lot of that heat out and not stress this plastic. And it's easy to cut. So I'm just gonna draw a template here and then cut it out and use some scissors to make it look great, and then we can stick it on here. There's our finished product. And a quick little note to add, what I've also done is used some of this window seal or door seal trim, the stuff that you find that comes with most intake kits, and I've lined the inner circle here so the intake can fit in there, and you can see it does take up a lot of the space, but it still gives you some wiggle room. So when I can get this on, so now I'm going to stick this over top of this here as such, and then we can test fit it. All of a sudden, both sides are now covered with the DEI floor and tunnel shield, and that is because I screwed up. I put the heat shield on the wrong side, people. It's the heat in here. It's like 40 degrees. I'm burning up, and my mind is starting to wander. But you know what? On the bright side, now we've got more heat protection, yeah. Right? Why not?
Doubled the barrier.
Like, look at that. So this is going to be pretty good. I'm sure some of you will be wondering, what about all of this empty space down here? And I'm going to leave it. I'm going to do a bit of taping up of a bunch of these flaps that we had cut into the rad fan. But otherwise, I'm just not going to go there, because I would have to try to like build out a very intricate shape to cover all that. Instead, I think just covering this section here will close off so much heat, and with that cold air running up from the duct, we should be okay. There you have it. Our one piece is in place here. So now what I'm gonna do is drop the lid on here. As you can see, I've got a couple of bolts that will go in there, and then I'm going to tape this along this side, and we'll see if that holds everything in place. Here's our finished product. The DEI reflective gold tape actually works really well in terms of sealing off this area here. We also just ran a small little piece of that tunnel shield back here and then taped it down. So we've got ourselves a cold air box. I don't necessarily love how it looks. It's too big. I would have loved to just have like a nice form molded one right here, but that's just how it goes. Usually the air intake draw is from this area here, from the kidneys. I did find Horsepower Freaks makes one because they do have a turbo kit that pulls air and draws it over here. I haven't been able to locate a used one, but if one comes up, I may rethink this whole strategy here and maybe be able to use that air box. But for now, I think this is gonna work great. There's one last thing I wanna do under the engine bay, and it's purely cosmetic. I'm saying goodbye to the clear cam gear cover, and I've gone with the OEM gloss black look. I think it just finishes up the engine bay a little bit better, especially with this air box here now. It gives it more of an OEM feel. So that is it for all of the, I guess, cosmetic and airbox work. Now there's one last thing left, and that is to get this car aligned. So we are off to NV Auto for that. So I wanted to just cover off a couple of other impressions I've had with this vehicle after driving it for quite a bit of time. And the main one is there's no air conditioning. It is, I think, 32, 33 degrees, so high 90s in the Fahrenheit. And man, this car is tough to drive in the summer because of the no AC thing. So that's certainly something I want to explore. It's going to require a lot of effort because the AC and whatnot is routed on the opposite side of the 2J engine as it would be on the S54. And like there's a dryer that was in the intake side that we removed too. So it would require quite a bit of fabrication. I'm hoping that we can figure it out eventually. I just don't know when. I honestly don't think that is going to be a this year thing. I think that's something I'll have to probably figure out in 2021. We've just got so many things on the go right now that air conditioning is not a huge priority. It'll cool off in a month or two, and I'll be able to enjoy this car a little bit more. The other thing, I've been talking a lot about the cooler work shifter and whatnot, and how I'm finding it's not necessarily perfect for daily use. I have found that it is actually, the more I drive it, the more I get used to it. But I have had the same shifter in the 240, the K-Swap 240, and it has the detents in the 5-speed gearbox, and I find it actually makes a difference. It has more snap back. It kind of, when you move it over and push it into gear, I don't know if that's just like a mental thing, but I find it works better per se. Maybe this is just a byproduct of an old gearbox and whatnot, but it does seem to work better. So that's the other key thing that I've kind of realized and whatnot, that this car would probably be better with the detents installed as to per without them, even with the shifter. Like, this shifter does a totally fine job of centering and whatnot. You can see it works extremely well in that sense, but I think it would just give it a little bit of extra oomph. And I find it with the K-Swap, it just wants to go into gear naturally, where with this one you kind of really need to make those moves over and whatnot. All right, guys, we are pulling into NV Auto here, and the shifter is working. So I think we may have cured our ailment, which most likely was air in the system. So I'm happy. I think we're gonna be A-okay with that. So now it is time to get this thing onto the alignment rack. All right, we are here at the new NV Auto. You guys moved in here, what, about 3 months ago?
February.
February, okay, so that's a little while ago. And you've made a significant upgrade from the old shop in the
in that you put in this fancy new alignment rack system.
Yeah, one of the big things we wanted to do when we moved here, because when we moved here, we had some time to get it all set up with, you know, painting the walls, setting up the hoist the way we wanted to, setting up sort of the fab shop, setting up the general repair side. But one of the big things was making sure that the rack was in the ground. So the big problem we had before, which was the rack was amazing, but the big problem we were having before was that anytime we had a lowered car, we had to set up ramps, which are about 8 feet long.
Yeah, I remember.
And it was a pain in the ass because, you know, you have other shops around there and setting the ramps up and then pulling the cars in and out. Sometimes it requires you to pull the cars in and out to do an alignment adjustment. So with this was sort of our top priority. I mean, it cost a whole lot more than we wanted it to, but we made sure that the rack was in the ground, and with the way it is, it lifts up everything.
Yeah.
There's no car that we can't get out. We had a Jetta here for an oil change that the rims were actually tucked inside the fenders.
Okay.
And it was actually scraping going around the parking lot. But we got it on here, lifted up, and honestly, there's no other way of doing an oil change on something like that.
Even the stance boys can get their alignments in here, or an oil change apparently. That's amazing. Yeah, it's impressive how it's truly just level with the ground. And there's no like ramp out of the building either. It's flat into the building. So it's a really sweet setup. Well, I'm excited to watch you work your magic again with alignments. We get all of our alignments done with them. Obviously, you've seen him before on the channel. He's not building motors for us, he's doing alignments. Go once again. Nam has worked it to all green everything, as is our expectations around here, and we went with kind of like our standard track alignment on a rear drive car with Mac front struts. We need quite a bit of camber in the front of a Mac strut car like this. We went 3.5 negative in the front, 2 degrees negative in the rear, which is actually pretty aggressive for what may be more of a straight line car than a track car, but we needed the camber just to be safe with the fender setup. So put a little bit of toe in the rear, a little bit of toe out in the front, help the car turn. Rear end is to help with a bit of stability. So we done. And how was it? It didn't fight you too badly?
It wasn't too bad. The tire, I guess the tie rod's the only thing you guys haven't touched on this car suspension wise.
Yeah,
it was a little sticky, so I had to put the tie rod adjustment tool on there. It took a little bit long, so I cleaned it all up, put some lubricant in it, so maybe the next time we do an alignment, we won't have the same problem.
Good man. Now that Nam's wrapped up the alignment, why don't we give you guys a quick tour of the shop. Of course, you'll remember Dove, the general manager here. Can we call you that?
Sure.
The boss.
Sure.
Why don't we call him the boss?
Whatever.
He doesn't normally stand in the pit, but this is obviously like the main maintenance area of the shop.
That's where we do all the general repair stuff, yeah.
We've got a nice sort of drive-through setup here, which is great. So you've got an STI here, got another Subaru down here.
Yeah, just doing the steering rack and subframe in this, and wheel bearings and that. And
pays the bills.
yeah, this is, I mean,
You're not building exotic race cars over here, but
sometimes when it gets busy, things carry over here with the project cars.
Sure, and obviously the new alignment rack is very sexy, but
It is awesome.
I think maybe the sexiest stuff is tucked away in there.
Yeah, over in the AC over there.
Let's go enjoy the AC. So it looks like you do a lot of your general maintenance stuff out there, and this is more like your fabrication area.
Yeah, exactly. So all the general boring things happen there, and all the fun things happen in here.
Yeah, it looks like you do have a few fun things going on too. Why don't we have a look at some of these projects?
Sure.
I actually recognize this Mustang GT 350. This is Yuta's car.
Yeah,
right?
it's Yuta's car. This is his track day mule. He spends every minute he can at TMP with this car, so we're just getting it ready. Some upgrades, spherical bearings, fluids, just so we can continue ripping on this here.
Pretty much every time we're at TMP, we see Yuta and his Mustang there. And
Yeah.
I've driven it once. It's super nice. It's special motor in these things. And
Oh,
it
definitely.
does have Speed Academy stickers on it too, so thank you, Yuta, for that. So, by the way, AC in here.
Yes, it is
Luxury.
key.
What luxury.
Well, you know, it is 94 degrees out there.
You guys
so-
are moving up in the world. I like to
Yeah.
see it. And then we've got a brick. Now this thing is rad. I love this. This is exciting.
Yeah, this is basically your M3 that's next door.
Yeah.
Almost the same setup,
Okay.
same manifold, same turbo, same engine. So, you know, there's a good chance it's gonna make, what'd you guys make?
575.
575 at the wheel.
Yeah.
But in this totally inconspicuous wagon,
Brick
wagon.
with the big square headlights too, which I
Yeah.
love. And this chassis is mint.
Yeah,
It's in
this
remarkably
car,
good shape.
this customer, I don't know where he got it from, but this car is absolutely perfect. There's not a spot of rust on it, and it is the perfect sample to do this to, for sure.
You should come have a look too, Pete, and see how well this 2J fits in there. It's like it was designed to drop in here.
Yeah, I mean, Vin still did have to do a whole bunch of magic to make it work.
Yeah.
But it's sitting on OEM 2J mounts. He made mounts to have the OEM 2J mount in this chassis. So, like, if you ever need engine mounts for this car, just call the Toyota dealership. Say, hey, I need mounts for my Supra.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
And how about the tunnel area and the transmission and all that?
Didn't have to bang a single thing. It all fits. It's got an R154 behind it.
Okay.
Shifter position pretty much lined up exactly in the stock
Oh,
spot.
you didn't have to cut a hole in the tunnel.
No hole in the tunnel or
Wow.
anything like that. Yeah.
So good.
It's like it was meant to be.
This is a sleeper in the. I'm so stoked. This is obviously a E46 chassis.
Yes.
The drift car.
His drift car is Scott's drift missile, although he drives it on the street all the
Does
time.
he really?
Yeah, and
It's got all the zip ties and the,
Yeah, it is.
the rolled fenders. It's a drift car.
it's full drift spec. You know,
It's not a rock box though. It's just
No,
beat
the
up.
chassis is actually really good. It's just bumped and bruised because he has been drifting it probably for 6 years actually.
Yeah.
But always horsepower was a big concern for him. He didn't want a 2J, he didn't want a V8, he wants something that's more fitting for the chassis.
Beams, everyone. Beams.
No, everybody's.
Huh? No. Is that? Huh?
Here it is.
There it is. All right. Ooh.
Yeah.
K-swap.
K-swap, so K24 bottom end, K20 head,
Nice.
and put a BMW trans on it,
Okay.
and then a 488 rear end. So this
Oh, wow.
thing can take a ton of abuse, all the clutch kicks, all the burnouts, all this, you know, crazy things you want to do with it.
Beautiful.
You can do with this car.
Fits in there nicely.
This was more work to get fit than the Volvo. That's
Really?
For sure. Oh yeah.
The subframe is the challenge, right?
The subframe's a challenge, and then the trans tunnel. The BMW transmission is super beefy around the flywheel,
Right.
and the factory trans in this thing is like
Tiny,
tiny,
yeah.
anemic little thing.
Yeah.
And so
Custom drive shaft too, I assume.
Oh yeah, everything on this car is custom. It's a Honda engine, BMW transmission, Ford differential in a Toyota.
Wow. And is it a ripper now, or does it need a tune?
It definitely needs a tune. The wiring just got finished up on it,
Okay.
and it's got to hit a dyno. But I mean, K24, K20 head, you know,
220, 230,
yeah,
somewhere in that
yeah.
ballpark?
And it will be way more responsive than what it was.
Oh
before.
yeah. It was a 4AG before I saw
Yeah,
it?
it's a 4AG.
Oh man. Looking forward to hearing it go.
Yeah.
A lot of the tools look familiar. They obviously came over from the old shop.
Yeah.
But you do have a lot more square footage now, or at least it feels bigger than the old space?
It's definitely much better laid out. The
Yeah.
square footage is very similar,
Okay.
but it's not different rooms for everything. It's like a big wide open space.
Yeah, it's nice. And this is obviously where you do more fabrication stuff. You've got
Sure.
like your mill, your brake, your
Yeah.
saws.
Inside
whatnot.
chop saws, you know, belt sander. all
And
that
engines.
stuff.
Obviously, you guys build a lot of these
Yeah, we
things.
build a lot of engines. This engine's in for a complete overhaul. It's like an 06 STI engine. It's gonna go all forged. We just finished, we're not finished, just finishing up this 1J. This engine was in a fire, so there was lots
Oh,
of,
wow.
you know, the block was okay. We had to do a bunch of stuff with the head, but that one's almost done. We have this
The UZ.
one UZ that we are swapping into a 77
Oh,
Celica.
Jay's Sleeka. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's a Sleeka Fastback.
Exactly,
That'll
the
be awesome.
fastback. That's good. The car is super cool.
Yeah, I love these motors. They sound amazing.
Mhm.
This is obviously the front-facing part of the business.
Yes.
Customers come in,
Yes.
visit you at your desk,
Yeah, that's where we do all the billing and selling and whatnot.
get TVs, keep people
Yeah.
entertained.
We got the news. We got some retro speed vision playing.
You've got
24
racing
hours.
tires, you've got racing oils, you got all the
Yeah.
good stuff.
We got all the things.
And we should mention that you didn't move into it like this. You guys
No.
actually fully renoed this building, didn't
This
you?
was a used car dealership
you
beforehand.
gutted it.
Yeah, fully gutted. The whole building was all offices and wash bays and all kinds of weird layouts. So we gutted the entire thing, and these walls were all built by us, mostly NAM.
Yeah?
But you know,
Floors were laid by you guys too?
yeah, all the floors, this was Totally different. It was we took possession of the building 3 months before we moved into it.
Wow.
So there's 3 months worth of working all day at the shop and then coming here and working to midnight here to get this.
I
ready.
remember seeing how tired you guys looked
Yeah.
during that phase. So if you need your shop rent out, also call that.
No.
Don't. They're not in that business. So
No.
You've also personally got an office up there, you have a storage room back there, but you guys don't
Stock
need to
room.
see that
Yeah,
stuff. So
no.
that I think is a wrap on the tour here.
All right, that is officially a wrap on this episode. This thing is ready to go. So the next time you're gonna see it, it is going to be on the racetrack against Dave's Supercar Killer, which I don't know what that is yet, and we're about to find out very soon. Nico, we're fucking rolling here.
Come on, buddy.
Yeah, we can hear you. Jesus.
Hey, we got that on video, so.
Yeah.